Joining us now, Jovan Buha. And you know what? You're our second guy this week, Jovan, and I've decided we're going to start a campaign. Writers, reporters, hosts, they need to get their own hype videos as well. Because you guys just show up when we come out of break, and it's kind of unfair, I think. So we're working on it. Welcome, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you guys for having me. I'm a big fan of the show.
Oh, well, thank you. I like the vibe you got going back there. It's very chill.
We got the nightclub.
Yeah. Like,
wow.
You wouldn't know it was 7:25 in the morning right now. It's very cool. Okay, let's get to this because you got Lakers Rockets on Saturday. We saw the news yesterday that we're not expecting Luka and Austin Reaves back in the first round, which is crazy because we're all just like, come on. Is that the vibe? Like, what does it feel like around practice, for example, yesterday?
Yeah, there's a lot of nobody believes in us energy right now with the Lakers, and that the cavalry is not coming to save them at any point. They've not officially been ruled out for the first round series, but the Lakers are operating as if they will not have them during the first round. I think that's the way to go into this series. So they obviously are massive underdogs. If you take the top two leading scorers off of any team, I don't know if any team would win in the first round. Maybe OKC or Boston or San Antonio, like the top three title contenders. But outside of that, any team without their two best players is going to be a massive underdog. So that's the challenge ahead right now for LA.
No, it's absolute gut punch. This one is the expectation that if they do in fact return, that it would be Luka first. He's coming back first.
He has the shorter projected timetable. So yes, and he obviously went to Spain to get some treatment, and they're hoping that could shave off a few days or maybe even up to a week. So between the two, yes, Luka is expected back first, but I think hamstrings can be tricky with Austin. It's that oblique strain. So maybe that heals up, or he can kind of play through it, take something for the pain. So I think that it's close between the two in terms of who would return first, but we did not get an official Luka timetable. So that remains up in the air. With Austin, it was 4 to 6 weeks.
It's just such bad timing.
Spanish magic. It's the worst timing.
They were
terrible timing.
Absolutely rolling. And let me ask you this summer, Austin Reaves, he's up for a huge extension, right? And like, I feel like both sides want to get this deal done, but is there any hesitation on the Lakers side, like with his game and with the time he's missed, to pay him that huge deal that he honestly deserves?
I don't think so. And I think it came at a tough time for Austin, especially because we had that 24 hours or so there where Luka was ruled out, and it looked like this was a golden opportunity for Austin to co-lead the team with LeBron. And this was going to be him thrown into the fire of, can you be the number one some nights? Can you be the clear number two? And can you hold the fort down until Luka is able to return? And because I think the one thing with him has just been the playoffs, right? And go back to last year, he played through injury against Minnesota and didn't announce that until after the series because he didn't want Minnesota to know about it. He didn't want to have any excuses. It was just like, I can play through this, so I'm going to play through it. And that's kind of how Austin is. He's played through a lot of injuries throughout his career, and he just kind of doesn't announce it or let the team announce it because he's just like, if I can play, I can play, and I don't really want to like touch on it or let the opponent know because that can sometimes be an advantage for the opponent. So I think this was a big opportunity for him that we're just not going to get to see now unless LA can somehow advance to round two. But if you look at the guys, like right now, Austin's max is about $41.5 million starting out. If you look at the guards in that mid to high 30s range, Austin is just as good, if not better, than a lot of those guys. So I think he's going to get at least in the mid 30s, if not higher. But if he gets the max, like I wouldn't be surprised. So we'll see where that number ends up. But it would be based more on the regular season and what LA was projecting for him rather than the playoffs.
100%. He's put himself in this situation to get a major payday. But we also love to talk about LeBron James, and he's not getting any younger. Like, Windhorst reports yesterday that he does not want to leave the Lakers. This was not the situation like a month ago, I feel like. Is that the best move for the Lakers to re-sign LeBron James at this state of his career?
I think so. It's difficult to say in a vacuum without knowing the potential alternatives. But if you look at like starting around the beginning of the year, there was a real shift with the big three with the Lakers together. I'm a big numbers guy and lineup data guy. And just looking at like before that point, they were really struggling with those three on the floor, particularly defensively. So if you look at from that point on, they've been crushing teams, and especially in March, they had really come together in a serious way. And I think they had like nearly a plus 18 net rating with those three on the floor. So not only were they playing well, I mean, they were like dominating teams. And that I think is the key for being a contender is when you're playing your best players, you're playing your best lineups, you want to be dominating, right? Because you're going best lineup versus best lineup. And if that isn't fitting together, then I think that would have been a different conversation this summer potentially. But with them figuring that out, I mean, I think that's the other tough part here is like that had finally clicked. That had been one of the biggest questions with the whole Lakers season is like, how do these three guys fit together, especially defensively? And they had figured some things out. But if LeBron is willing to come back, which I believe he is, I don't see a reason why. Like the Lakers can offer him more than anybody else realistically. So maybe it's not quite the 50 million that he's used to, but even if it's 20, 25 million, Lakers would still have 30, 35 million in cap space. Like, I think that makes sense.
And regardless of whether LeBron is back or not, like I feel like this team is still missing something to be able to compete with the Thunder, with the Spurs. Like, what else do they add? Is it more shooting? Is it these 3-and-D guys that we talked about early in the season that they need? Like, what else is it besides re-signing Austin and bringing back LeBron?
I think to your point, it's probably a couple of additional starters. Like I think that's where you look at the Lakers and some of the guys that they've started this season would not be starting for the other contenders in the league. And some of the guys in their rotation wouldn't be in the rotation for other top teams across the NBA. So I think they need to add another starter to this summer. I think you could look at that fifth starter spot next to the big three, and maybe can you add some sort of rangy 3-and-D guy, someone in that 6'7" to 6'9" range, move Marcus Smart into a bench role, which to be clear, like Marcus has been great as a starter. I just think at this stage of his career, he's in his early 30s. He's had several injury, riddled seasons the last few years. I think if you could reduce his role a little bit and keep him on lower minutes, I think that's a more sustainable approach for him. Then I look at the center spot, and DeAndre Ayton, from a production standpoint, has been there over the course of the season, but he has been pretty inconsistent. It's been something that there's been a couple of articles about it. He's gotten into it with the media, and even JJ Redick has called him out a couple of times in the media. So I think that might be the spot where, depending on how things go in the playoffs against Houston, do you look to upgrade on the center position as well?
Yeah.
Jovan, if just so happens that LeBron is able to get, the Lakers out of the first round, would this be one of the greatest accomplishments for him as a Laker since the bubble championship?
Yeah, I saw you guys were talking about this the other day. I think it's up there. Like it's not a championship, of course, but looking at, I believe this is the fifth biggest underdog the Lakers have been since they started tracking these things in since 1988, and the biggest underdog since 2013. Which, if you remember, then that's when Kobe tore his Achilles right before the playoffs, and they lost to the Spurs. They got swept, and that was the Spurs team that made the finals. So it's been a minute since the Lakers have been this heavy of an underdog going into a playoff series. And again, as I said earlier, like you take the two leading scorers off any team, and it's just, that's the reality of the situation in the playoffs. But yeah, if LeBron finds a way to pull this off, I think we could debate LeBron versus KD going into the series as like who's the best player. After that, you could argue maybe like the next 4 or 5 guys in the series are all Rockets. And that like just from a talent perspective and like who's the second leading guy, who's the third leading guy on the Lakers, it's not even close, but between the two teams. So yeah, I mean, if he finds a way to pull this off and just puts on his cape one more time and leads the Lakers into the second round, like this would be up there, especially factoring in the age, right? And just, he didn't have to do this all season, but he showed at the end of the year, he did it for a few games. And if he does it again for a full series, like it would be quite the accomplishment.
Yeah. Now, at this point, do you think there's any chance that LeBron will have a statue outside Crystal?
It's tough to say.
Love statue talk.
Maybe if he wins the first round series.
Not a crazy question.
Hey, Jovan, I'm just throwing it out there, man.
No,
He's
it's
a
a fair
journalist,
question.
Jovan.
There are a lot of statues outside Crypto.com Arena. I've been to many statue unveilings over the last few years. So I think there's a chance, but he probably would have to win a second title, in my estimation.
That would be shocking, given the
He's going to get his jersey
weird
retired, though. He will for sure.
Okay.
We're here for the statues, Jovan. We're here for the statues.
We are a statue show, if you didn't know that. By the way, we spent a lot of time, I personally have spent a lot of time whining about Luka's whining that he does to the refs and all that. And then it's like he just went on a tear and was averaging 40 points for a while there towards the end. So I don't know how he operates. I'm sure he hears a lot of things and is relatively self-aware. Did that get to him? Like, is he just kind of sick and tired of hearing all of us be sick and tired of his complaining and it just lit something?
I think a little bit. He pays attention to some of that, not as quite online as some other guys, but he heard the noise and he referenced it a couple of times in his post game interviews with us, or even sometimes with international media, because it'll have a lot of Slovenian media or Spanish media come to games and then interview him. And he had a response to one where he's like, the better I play, the lower I rank in the MVP race. So he kind of felt like there was a correlation with that. But yeah, I mean, that month that he had, and one of the fascinating things with Luka's season was he finished the season with 2 player of the months, and Shea had one, Jokic had one, and Wemby had one. So that does not determine the MVP race, to be clear, right? But just when you're looking back on the season and like he was deemed the best player in the West, and all those guys are in the same conference 2 different times, and everybody else in the race was deemed it once. So yeah, I mean that March that he had was one of the best months I've personally seen from anyone I've ever covered. As you mentioned, nearly 40 points, 8 rebounds to 8 assists. He had a 6-game road trip where he became the first player since Michael Jordan in 1988. Or actually, 1986, because it was 40 years ago, to average over 40 points on a 6-game or longer road trip. So like he was playing out of his mind.
He was on an absolute heater.
I mean, I think you guys have been to Miami before. Like going to Miami second night of a back-to-back, that could be a tricky game. He dropped 60 in that game after ripping the hearts out of the Rockets. He goes into Miami, drops 60 on them. So that was a special month.
Well, Jovan, it's probably easier when you get in on a back-to-back than if you
it's fair.
Less time in Miami is always a good thing.
Yeah,
it's a great point. Yeah. I didn't think about that. By the way, I want to get this in real quick. Coaching insider Jeff Teague had some info that JJ Redick could be fired after the season. Like I just like getting a Jeff Teague idea in it. Thank you.
I'll shut that down.
Where does that even come from?
They love JJ. I mean, this was a guy that they handpicked, right? There's a lot of skepticism. Oh, this guy's a podcaster. And he had gotten some buzz as a coaching candidate, but you still had to take the leap of faith in hiring him, having 0 NBA coaching experience. This is a guy that they've compared internally to Pat Riley, and that's a very serious comparison internally for the Lakers, right? It's Pat's second greatest coach in Lakers history behind Phil Jackson. So no, the JJ's in great standing, back-to-back 50-win seasons, back-to-back going higher than the preseason projections in terms of win-loss and seeding. We'll see how the playoffs go, and but I don't think. I mean, yeah, he's not in jeopardy at all.
Yeah, Chandler thinks he's a better coach than Mitch Johnson, but that's for another time. Jovan, you blind ranked it. We're gonna talk to you soon.
It was a blind ranking, Bees.
No,
I didn't know.
That's blind rank. Yeah,
I'll never forgive him.
You get a pass with that.
All right, your thing kicks off. Good luck. Have fun, by the way. Have fun in this first round. However it turns out. Thanks for the time, man.
Thank you, guys. Good to see you.
We'll be right back. I don't care if it's a blind ranking, Chandler.